Hi, my name is David Malamed, and welcome back to UncoverFraud.com. I'm a forensic accountant and fraud investigation expert, and today I want to talk to you about what fraudsters do with money that they've stolen. Now, I want you to just think for a moment that if you had $1 million, what you would do with it. Suddenly somebody gave it to you. You didn't even steal it. You probably would pay off some debt, maybe buy a house or a car, put some away for savings or for school, and move on with your life. Now, for the fraudster, first of all, they've got to get to the money. Sometimes that's as simple as writing a check from the business that they work for or own or are a partner of, writing a check to themselves and depositing that check directly into their bank account. Sometimes it's a bit more intricate, that they've got to put together a purchase order and an invoice and create a fictitious company and make it seem that product or services were received by the company in order to get that check or wire transferred to a bank account that they control. Now that they have the money, the question is, what do we see them doing with it? Now, most of the investigations that I've done, it's pretty much the same. I see some fraudsters that are taking money to help float, save, survive, start a new or different business. I see money being spent on lifestyle, trips, jewelry, cars, houses. A lot of the money, though, that is taken by fraudsters is spent money, meaning that if you become a victim of fraud or your company becomes a victim of fraud, there is a low likelihood of ever recovering any funds from the fraud that occurred. You know, as a company, one of the things that you can do is purchase fidelity insurance or fraud and fidelity insurance. And what that will do is protect you from employees that may commit fraud, and it will make you whole again. When I ask companies that call me about having issues with employee fraud, one of my first questions to them is, do you have fraud and fidelity insurance? Because if they do, there usually is a clause that says, this is how much we'll pay for a forensic accountant, and this is how much we will reimburse you if you are a victim of fraud. Now, the benefit to that is, number one, they're not out of pocket by hiring a forensic accountant. And number two, you know what the limit is that the insurer is going to be able to pay back based on the policy. There was one investigation that I did where the CFO was taking money from the company and using it to date, travel with, and do other things with his admin. And their technique of taking money from the company was not that sophisticated. A lot of it had to do with incurring expenses on credit cards and getting those credit cards reimbursed to the individual. But when we looked into the individual, the CFO, it was quite clear that this individual was in debt, didn't have assets, and was underwater. Meaning that if the company chose to go after the individual, even though they may win in civil court, there is no source to actually recover the loss. However, having fraud and fidelity insurance, which this company did have, and by the way, the interesting part is that the CFO is the one who actually bought the policy for the company. The policy said that it had X dollars to cover forensic accounting, and the policy was worth up to $1 million. Now, I went in with my team, we did our investigation, we quantified the loss, and as soon as we got to $1 million, our investigation was over because there was no other avenues to go and recover the money. And that was really what the company was looking for. When the company submitted our forensic accounting and fraud investigation report, which included an understanding of what had occurred and a quantification of the damages and the support. The company was reimbursed that $1 million in a very short time. There wasn't arguments, there weren't debates, there weren't fights, there wasn't additional court required. They were paid back and made whole. Now, if there's one thing that I've learned in terms of anything that I do, I always want to have insurance. I'm the guy who goes up to the rental car company and says, without even waiting for them to offer it to me, what type of insurance do you have? And I'm an accountant by nature, meaning I'm conservative. But with fraud being such an epidemic worldwide, I would believe that if you are in a leadership role or a decision-making role, that you would, without a doubt, purchase fraud and fidelity insurance to make sure that if your company becomes a victim, there is an avenue and a source to recover the losses. Because let's go back for a second and remember, if you got that $1 million, you wouldn't spend it all. But fraudsters seem to use it for lifestyle and for reviving, resuscitating, or starting a new business. You want to make sure that if you're a custodian of a company, that you have protected it as much as you can. And for the outlay of fraud and fidelity insurance and the peace of mind, that's something that I wouldn't take too lightly, and I would do. Again, my name is David Malamed, and I am a forensic accountant and fraud investigation expert. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe below. And if you want to know when my videos come out, I usually have 1 to 2 videos out, but you can also check that bell down there, and that will give you an alert to let you know when my new videos come out. Remember, I'm talking about fraud investigation and forensic accounting, what's in the news, what's happening, what needs to be done, and what needs to be changed. Until next time, be well and God bless.